it's impressive having been part of the tournament and commentating since the very beginning of Swiss, how the bomb strats have developed. People have worked on their strategies, and it looks like we are off.
I think the uncle's in the wrong game there.
Yeah, hopefully our runners will get done a little faster than 3 days. We got a bottle with a fairy in the first chest.
It's a nice pickup early on, so that'll mean that we can deal with the sick kid once we get to Kakariko. Map checked there.
Yeah, I saw one crystal in the light world at Eastern, and the other two were pendants. I think it was green at Desert.
Yes, I think that's what I saw as well.
Our tracker today is Demon's Druid, and Demon's Druid will be keeping up with all of that, keeping us in the know.
And we got the bow. Bow is a really nice item off the bat here. It's pretty quick, so for these two runners here, we should definitely be seeing some sub-6 escape sequences here.
Yep, and PKR already has a bomb drop from one of the green guards in the escape tunnel there.
So it's likely that Gem will also be picking that up. It seems like it's pretty early in the little prize pack there on those guards.
Yep. And it's particularly nice that we found the bow. We already know that Eastern is a crystal, so if our runners feel like it, they'll be able to clear that crystal right away. I am confident that dark rooms are not going to scare either of our runners.
Although Gem's channel emote does make mention of yes, the lamp, so maybe a little bit scared, but just kidding. Gem's fantastic.
We got the Moon Pearl right here. Wow.
Really nice.
I'm used to seeing lots of good stuff pop up in Escape, but I don't know if I've ever seen the Moon Pearl this early.
That is... it's not one you see too often, but it does pop up every now and then, I guess. Means we're one step closer to Dark World access, so that's nice.
Little quiver expansion to go with our bow.
Alrighty, we're heading down to Zelda's cell here.
We see how the bow makes quick work of enemies. You get the map. The bow does the same amount of damage as the Master Sword.
So with the map in hand there, that means we're still going to be looking for the small key. It'll be in the first chest in the sewers there, and then in the back half of the sewers we'll have 3 more items plus the one in the sanctuary. So this is the first game of their 3-game set here, and later tonight we've also got Andy taking on Gloin in another quarterfinal, so that is also something to look forward to. I think 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10 o'clock Eastern time. That's going to be an exciting one. Andy had a very eventful previous round, defeating Zero Rush in a total of 4 games.
Yeah, that was really hype. Alrighty, making our way into the sewers here. Gem has just a slight lead at this point, just a little bit cleaner through the escape sequence so far.
Yep, we see a little bit of that execution skill coming through on Gem's side. Not that PinkKittyRose is a slouch by any means, making excellent time into the sewers on both sides here. We, of course, get the key here. We kind of have to.
Yep. So we just got to pick off the rat here.
Let's see what those bombs have earned us here in the back of Escape. Total of 40 rupees and a sword. First sword of the game here in the back of Escape.
It's a nice pickup for sure. So we notice here that PKR has picked up an 8-bomb drop a little earlier in the escape sequence. So that's going to come in handy making their way through Kakariko. Gem was looking to maybe score a couple bombs along the way, otherwise might just buy them from the merchant in Kakariko.
Yep. Totally a possibility. I had a feeling, though, PKR was going to do that. I have seen PKR save and quit out of Sanctuary right after Escape, so we're not going to see Kakariko on her side for a little while.
Yeah, does prefer to do South Shore first. But in this case, are we looking at maybe Eastern Palace, because we got the bow?
Yeah, we have the bow, and it's a crystal, so we're going to get a check of the Lake Hylia item first. Quick dip in the water here. It's a pretty hot one, I think, all over the place today, as far as the weather is concerned. So PinkKittyRose taking a bit of a swim.
Yeah. So Gem saying no to the shield hanging out the mushroom spot there.
Grabs 50 rupees there from the drop down. That is the amount of money you'd pay for bombs in Kakariko Village, so a nice thing to find.
So Ether Medallion in the back of Sahasrah's hut there. Meanwhile, Gem pulling off a tree pull there and picking up 4 bombs out of that. So that's nice.
Yep, now he doesn't have to make the trip all the way down to the south part of Kakariko, buy the bombs, take them back up to the Thieves' Hut. Just, well, save a couple of seconds, but at this level of the tournament, as we've seen, every second you save can come in handy at the end of the race.
Yeah, we have seen so many races in this tournament come down to mere seconds, so every little bit counts. Red meringue. And some love here in Blind's hut.
And a little more love. One nice thing about finding that bottle first thing is we'll be able to check the sick kid here. Won't have to worry about routing this location back in later in when we get that first bottle.
Mm-hmm.
A few more bombs and a little more love in the well. Oh, and the hook shot. And love. But the hook shot!
Yeah, that's definitely something. I mean, at this point, it doesn't give us access to a whole lot.
That is true. We do not have access to Death Mountain, whether sequence broken or otherwise.
So we'll have to see if anything else is to be found here in Kakariko, but we're kind of running out of locations. Gem might check out South Shore after this, though. We'll see.
Yep. Ooh, PinkKittyRose with the cape in the big chest of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, having not seen Hammer or Glove yet, that cape might think Aghanim's on the table.
Yep, and PKR with excellent use of the Ether Medallion here in the Dark Room. This is the most challenging part of Eastern Palace without the lamp. trying to take out that Igor in the dark, using the Ether Medallion to freeze all of the, what are they called, popos? The little wriggly guys.
Yeah, it is a deceptively difficult dark room. You'd think it'd be pretty easy just to nail one enemy there, but it's tricky.
Yeah, we saw PKR use the bow to stick the Igor once, so she had a bead on where it was in the room before it started moving. Sabo, did you catch what was in the library?
I didn't see it, unfortunately.
Chat is not getting excited about it, so it probably wasn't anything significant.
Our wonderful tracker, Demon's Druid, is pointing out there was bomb capacity, so no, nothing of value for our runners today.
So PKR has completed Eastern Palace, did not go all the way through the dark to the vanilla big key location, so I'm assuming that all of the items were front-loaded and that's just a map or a compass.
Yes, I think that is the case.
So with a beautiful Armos fight, PKR has the first crystal at about 11 minutes.
That's a good feeling. That's a really early crystal, so yeah, good start to a race here.
Yep. The downside is we've gotten the one crystal from the Light World, so we know that all but one of those long Dark World dungeons are going to be required.
So it looks like Gem is going to do Eastern first here. Makes sense, you've got the bow, might as well just clear it out.
Yeah. The only argument one can really make for delaying Eastern is maybe you get the mirror and come back and do it with Pod, but with 3 items there and the ability to clear it, it makes a lot of sense to just get it done.
Mm-hmm. So this will be our first look at the mini Moldorm cave.
Yep, both of our runners making a clear of Eastern before doing this South Shore route. Well,
Yep.
we got a lamp, so that means we could do Aghanim if we wanted to. Probably don't want to, but it might be required.
Yeah, we might have to. There's not a whole heck of a lot left on the table here, seeing as what we know, having seen Gem check out Kakariko Forest already. Ice Rod Cave, Agina's Cave, and that's going to be about it, unless we decide to fake Flipper somewhere. Or if Zora's holding something, I suppose.
Yep. Well, Zora's not even in Logic yet, because we don't have a glove or a Flipper, so we could fake Flipper to Zora, but that's not in Logic itself either.
Right, yes.
And we'd need to find 2 items to bypass Aghanim. We'd need a glove, and we'd need a hammer or another glove, so those sequence break plays are a little less desirable if you need to find 2 whole items to get around Aghanim.
Yeah, you definitely be banking on like the waterfall cave being loaded with 2 items that you need. So the chances aren't great, actually. This is really looking like an Agaseed.
Yep. PKR is going to show us the dam. There's 2 items here.
You know, Ice Rod, fantastic. I'm so glad that's out of the way. I don't want this to be a seed that comes down to who guesses the right location for the Ice Rod.
Yeah, those are just not the most enjoyable things to play. They're not the most enjoyable things to commentate, those Ice Rod trolls. But Ice Rod's nice to find, doesn't get us to the Dark World.
Neither does that capacity upgrade there.
PKR is going to pick it up, though. Yeah. When you're early on, you want to build up your supply of bombs. PKR is going to show us everything that we can possibly get in the Light World. We're going to take the long walk to Agina's Cave. We'll probably, perhaps, check what's on the desert ledge. We can't get it yet, but we can see it.
So the only thing I wonder at this point is, with PKR having left out Kakariko until now, I guess, after Agina's cave here, she's going to have to clear out all of Kakariko, whereas Gem might actually make the Aga play a little earlier. He might check a little bit of South Shore, but then we'll quickly bail and maybe go for Aga 1.
Yeah, given how dry the South Shore is, you're gonna reach the same conclusion that you and I have, that if we need to find 2 items to get around Aga, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go digging around for them in one-off locations like the Ice Rod Cave, Agina's Cave. PKR taking the south route into Kakariko manages to pick up an extra bomb from those bushes south of the grove. There are 2 bushes there that are 50-50 bomb drops. And Gem showed us a nice little clip with the hookshot there, right through the block. When the block is moving, the game doesn't believe it exists, so you can hookshot right through it, save a little bit of time on that damn screen.
Yeah, that is a nice little trick to pull off, for sure.
Yep, and it's one PKR was not able to do because she has not yet gotten the hookshot from the well here in Kakariko.
So it looks like Gem is making the hot play over to Agina here. Did not go for Mini Moldorm at this time, so is going to have to go back for his lamp. So it seems pretty likely that our runners are going to be heading up to the Aga 1 fight at pretty much the same time.
Yep. It's impressive how often runners will diverge in their routing, and yet they'll reach the same sorts of milestones at the same time. You'll probably see them both in Aga Tower at about the same time. I mean, we were mentioning earlier how many of these races have ended up really close, because people will diverge dramatically, and they'll end up getting to Ganon around the same time.
Yeah, so I guess it'll be interesting to see where our runners decide to go once they get into the Dark World. Pod would be the obvious first check because it's right there, but we might see a runner just head right for Village of Outcasts and Skull Woods, using the hookshot to get over the river.
Yep, that's one of those things that newer runners of Randomizer need to pick up on. One of those gotchas that if you've got the hookshot, you can head up north in the direction of Catfish and hookshot your way across and get to the west side of the Dark World. Pod is also attempting play. We don't have a hammer to complete it, but we do have a bow. So if Pod is bow locked, we can still get those items there.
Yeah, I think my money would be on a pod dip first. You're right there. Might as well just take care of it.
Yep, and if we kill Aga, then that castle gate portal is going to be the only access to the Dark World, so heading further away from Pod, you'd have to figure in all the time you have to invest to get anywhere in the Dark World with that as your only access.
So Gem, not immediately saving and quitting, might be seeing some fake flipper action here.
Yeah, I can't imagine what else would be on Gem's mind at this point. Gem does not have Zora money, so the fake flipper will get Gem Hobo and Waterfall Cave, and he can get his eyes on the Zora ledge item, see what that is, won't be able to get it.
I'm just going straight for the Waterfall Cave. I think I saw this in Gem's previous match. It seems to be his go-to strategy when it comes to fake flipper.
Yeah, makes sense. You'll be able to trigger the water walk here by heading in, heading out, and heading back in. Need the Moon Pearl to actually get that water walk. The game only checks to reset your state if you have the Moon Pearl, so you gotta head in and out and you have to have the Moon Pearl.
So we're going to check out what's on the Zora ledge here. Won't be able to grab it at this time.
And PKR has given us a look at another ledge, and that's the Lumberjack ledge, and it is a 20 rupee. So Aga not going to be required for that 20 rupee, but probably going to end up being required for something else. Well, at this point, we've seen everything, so Aga definitely required, right?
Yeah, it is at this point.
Unless Hobo has something like the flute, which Gem can use to like get up to Death Mountain, something like that.
Yep.
But wouldn't be a logical skip to Aga.
Well, yeah, 5 arrow upgrade there. That's it's not going to do it. So it looks like Gem's going to be following in PinkKittyRose's footsteps here.
Yep. Only having Fighter Sword to deal with Aga Tower is a little bit rough, but the bow makes it a little nicer. It does a lot of damage right quickly. I see an interesting question in chat that I want to address, which is about the, and I like this phrase, ridiculous bomb death fake flipper thing that Andy and Zero Rush did. They did that to get to the east side of the Dark World, but they already had Dark World access. We don't have Dark World access at all.
So, I mean, so far the seed, even though it's kind of like railroaded our runners into this Aga play here, we've got one crystal, which was, which PKR picked up 11 minutes in. And we're 22 minutes in now heading for Aga. So it's still a pretty quick go of it so far.
Yep, and we have 2 of the items that are very common trolls in the bow and the ice rod. Those are often the items that you'll be searching for at the end of a seed, and we've already got them.
Yeah, definitely nice pieces of the puzzle to already have.
So, PinkKittyRose is about to begin the Aga 1 fight. So, we have a little mini guessing game here. We're not going to keep track or anything, but assuming a perfect fight, Aghanim can spit out 0 to 15 blue balls. Do you have any guesses, Sabatender?
I feel like he's gonna be mean. I'm looking at about 6.
6? I felt like saying 7. So we're both in a bad mood today. We want our runners to suffer a little bit. So the first one is guaranteed to be one of those reflectable shots. The next 3 have a 50-50 shot of being blue balls.
Wow, really nice so far.
Yeah, no blues at all in this first part of the cycle. This is going to be a lightning attack.
I don't think we saw any.
0 blue balls. Wow. Both of our runners will get the same number of blue balls. That is something that the randomizer developers have coded in. Bosses like Aghanim with the blue balls and Ganon warps, those are hard-coded to be the same for both runners, because despite being a community based on randomization, we'd like the randomization to at least be fair.
Yeah. So PKR is definitely making that play into pod first here.
Yep. makes sense. We'll be able to do everything except kill Helmasaur without the hammer. Might be a little slow having to walk around without being able to use the hammer or, say, the mirror to get around, but there are 5 items in Pod, and given that Aghanim was required, there's not a whole lot of places. I guess we do have access to the west side of the Dark World with the hookshot. The pendant, of course it was. There's a pendant in Turtle Rock since we got the Ice Rod early.
That always happens, like every single time.
Yeah,
The 5, 6 were Ice Palace and Misery Mire.
5 and 6 in 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Were they in the right dungeons? Was 5 in Ice Palace and 6 in Mire?
I don't know. Yes.
that is not an important thing to take note of.
Alright, so small key in the first chest here in Palace of Darkness. And PKR is going to tackle some of this first part before heading over to the bow-locked side.
Someone in chat made a good point. We can't actually get to the west side of the Dark World because we need either the flippers, the hammer, or the gloves to get to the hookshot place.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is a thing.
I so frequently, when I get into Dark World without gloves, just can't wrap my head around that. I try to go to Catfish and stuff like that, so I have a really hard time coping with not having gloves in the Dark World.
Yeah, it's just so odd to be in that situation.
As is tradition, the beginning of Pod does not have very many exciting things for us.
Yeah, there is a reason why we've had some of our other commentators nickname it the Mullet Mansion. Business in the front, party in the back. It does make sense. So without that hammer, what we're likely to see is PKR. She's going to ditch the ferry there and is going to try and set up a death warp here to get back to the beginning of the dungeon quicker.
Yep. So we've collected our allotment of small keys from the front of Pod and can head into the back where hopefully something a little more interesting lies.
Yeah, we're bound to find one item that's going to give us some kind of progression, but I don't know. We might see a couple pieces here. Ooh, Gem missing a couple of those arrow shots there.
Yeah, both of our runners a little low on arrows. Both of them had to pick up that 5-arrow pot in the mimic room there.
Unfortunately, Gem had a few hearts to get rid of there to set up that death warp there. PinkKittyRose picking up the Quake medallion. So that's 2 out of 3 medallions. That's pretty nice.
Yep. One of those medallions, maybe the one we don't have in Bombos, will be required to get into Misery Mire for its crystal. We don't have the fire rod yet, so there's a possibility of using Bombos to get into the Ice Palace. But PinkKittyRose just picked up flippers. That's another part, logically, of the Ice Palace thing. So flippers gives us access to nothing we haven't seen before, but it gives us access to the west side of the Dark World. That's what it does.
And we are also going to be going fast from here on out because PKR just picked up the boots.
Okay, so pod with the value today, pretty much as we knew it was going to be, but certainly a tremendous value. It's the Palace of Footwear, I guess.
Yeah.
And a mushroom for good measure.
So boots will give us the bonk rocks over by the sanctuary. And it'll be interesting to see what PKR decides to do here first. So she's going to turn that mushroom in right away.
Yep. I'm going to use this warp here to get real close to the witch's house. Since PKR saved and quit right before this, we have the option, if she feels like it, if the mushroom turns out to be not very useful turn-in, can reset the game to keep the mushroom and perhaps do a fake powder later.
Yeah, that seems like a likely play. Yeah, and there we go.
Yeah, and
So-
there's the reset.
So gonna save that mushroom for fake powder shenanigans a little later on.
Yep, if we want to see that fake powder, we'll need to get the Cane of Samaria and access to the Batman, either the hammer or the Titan's mitts in the mirror, in order to do that fake powder glitch.
Alrighty, Jim showing us bonk rocks here. Cane O'Brien. So I guess it's useful.
Yeah, we already have an invincibility item, so it doesn't do much for us in terms of logic.
Nope. So PKR has headed back into the Dark World, is going to swim up here and loop around, maybe check out the catfish things are right by, or maybe not, just leave them alone for now and hookshot over to West Dark World.
Yep. Jem did a blind check of the lumberjack ledge, killed Aghanim, had the boots, so why not? And ends up 20 rupees richer for his trouble.
PK are going to be checking out the bumper cave here.
Bumper cave, $50.
So we've got Gem doing the mushroom turn in here. We'll probably follow suit with PKR and maybe just reset after seeing what's 50 rupees here. Or actually going to collect it. Okay.
Okay. Gem going to collect the 50 rupees and save and quit. So at this point, Gem will not be able to do the fake powder. So that could be an interesting divergence if something ends up being on the Batman.
Yeah, because so far powder is nowhere in sight. So yeah, if it turns out to be an item, that's going to be a big advantage for PKR for sure.
PKR hitches a ride on the elevator to get out of that back room of Skullwoods.
Yeah, that looked really well executed there. Just grabbed him at the last second.
Going up. Ooh, PKR finds the flute in Skullwoods.
Okay, so things are starting to open up here.
Yep. That flute gives us access to Death Mountain once we get back to the light world and turn it on.
And just, I guess at this point, just kind of makes a movement around the world a little bit easier. We're still looking for gloves and the hammer to get us access to the portals a little bit easier between the light and dark world.
Yeah, we've got nicer light world access, but that dark world access is still quite a hurdle. So PKR is going to start checking the overworld locations here in Village of Outcasts, starting with the C-shaped house, which is just a piece of heart. Gets a little heart and a big heart from the chest game. At this point, chat is engaged in the "Where are the gloves?" guessing game.
I mean, there's still a fair bit of the world open to us here. So there's actually quite a few locations that we could find them. Hype Cave, or I think what's more likely is it's somewhere up on Death Mountain now that we have access with the flute.
Yeah, after all of these Dark World checks, I think Death Mountain would be the play. We have the hookshot. We've had the hookshot for quite a while. Oh, there they are.
Sure.
Gloves in Thieves Town.
So we're still looking for one more lift upgrade or the hammer to kind of complete that little set of items to get us into the Dark World easier.
Yeah, and PKR is going to dip out of Thieves Town at this point. Does not have the hammer, and so won't be able to check the big chest in the basement.
I mean, this is a play that I see a lot of runners make, is they are, they don't want to leave that chest behind in the basement of Thieves Town.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's an interesting play. It's hard to say if it's a good play or a bad play. In however long it takes to go back and take a look at that chest, that's when everybody's going to start chiming in. Oh, that was a good play. That was a bad play. But it's hard to know at this point.
Yeah, first 4 Thieves Town is a pretty quick check. So, I mean, to, re-enter the dungeon later on, it's not a huge loss of time to bail on it after doing first 4.
Digging game with 300 rupees. That puts PinkKittyRose over the threshold for Zora. PinkKittyRose has not done any of the flippers checked, while Gem used the fake flippers to check the Hobo and the Waterfall Cave. And we've seen the Zora ledge, and it is not very interesting. Hey! That's the mirror from Stumpy. And a great place to find it, too, because PKR is going to remember, almost dashed off the screen to the right, is going to remember to check the cave south of the grove right here.
Unfortunately, just a big 20 in that cave. Now, what does Gem do here? If Gem decides to go a little further into Thieves Town, finish off the dungeon, we'll kind of have our answer as to whether or not PKR's dip out is worthwhile or not.
Gem spent a little bit of time deciding there, ends up going with the Death Warp to get out. So they're going to be doing the same thing, dipping out of Thieves Town until they find that hammer.
I'm really interested to see if this just pays off in general. Book of Medora in the Hype Cave, so I don't know, that's not bad.
Yeah, that would be our desert access if we wanted to go into Green Pendant Desert. Can't complete desert without a... Oh, we have a glove. That's right, we have a glove. I made such a big deal of it, and then I forgot that it happened. PKR is heading in that direction, or is heading into Swamp.
Wow. Okay, this is a big-time play here. I like this.
Absolutely. Swamp without the hammer is huge. If I recall correctly, someone in chat mentioned that both of these runners have had hammer in Swamp this tournament.
mean, we got one location we can check here, So if it is something, that's pretty nice. But
Yep. And PKR has other stuff that she can do in this area of the world afterwards. She can go and check the Bombos tablet. Can't get the item on it, but we'll be able to use that book and the mirror to check the Bombos tablet. Could choose to dip into desert and see what's in there. Nope. So, a bold gamble into Swamp without the hammer does not pay off. Leads to a 5-arrow capacity upgrade.
So as we can see, Gem has managed to kind of catch up. Seeing as they've been kind of crossing off all the same checks here, Gem is now, 30 seconds behind or so. Based on what we have seen so far.
Yeah, and the Bombos tablet check shows us that there is just a piece of heart there. PKR is not going to take that book over to the entrance to desert. He's going to start at Sanctuary, and I have to imagine this is Death Mountain. And I don't think she's checked the Bonk Rocks herself, so...
Nope, yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, she's going to turn on the flute. There we go. That is clearly the right thing to do in this case.
Yeah, and maybe just leaving that Bonk Rocks check for when she can also do King's Tomb and maybe also Graveyard Ledge, work those all in as one kind of group of checks.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. It's... I don't know why you wouldn't do it when you're just dashing past it there, but... we shall see if she comes back for it at some point.
Thank you all for standing for the Hylian National Anthem there.
So PKR gave us a quick check of the item on the desert ledge, which was just 20 rupees, and it's now going to make these flipper checks that Gem has already made. While Gem is going straight to Death Mountain, is going to rescue the old man, is going to take a little detour into a hole in the ground, and is then going to rescue the old man.
Now, PKR does have the cash for Zora here, so we'll be able to give us this check, which we have not seen yet.
Yes, indeed. So, what lesson are we getting today? It is the traditional life lesson. Zora takes your 500 and gives you 20.
Yeah, it's what he's known for.
Gem is going to be progressing toward a rather dense collection of items here in Paradox Cave.
Yeah, total of 7 items in these 2 rooms here. And then we'll have probably a check of Spiral Cave after that.
Even if Gem had wanted to check Pendant Hera, Gem can't do that at present. Does not have the ability... Oh no, Gem has the mirror, so Gem could get to Pendant Hera if he felt like it. Silver arrows, powder. Okay, fake powder, not of importance now. And the Master Sword. Pretty nice Paradox Cave.
Yeah, I would agree. Dead rocks causing some trouble there for Gem, but...
Of course they are. That's what they do.
Okay, so I guess powder might have something at this point.
Yeah, we can't actually use the powder, though. We need the
Oh, yeah.
hammer to get through from the light world, or we need the Titan's mitts in the mirror to get through from the dark world, so... Yeah.
So Gem is going to head up here. We'll do Spectacle Rock, which we haven't seen yet. Could do Spike Cave, but might actually dip into Hera first. Oh, there's that thing. There's the thing we're looking for.
Yeah, there it is. Speak of the hammer, and it shall appear before you.
Wow, that was a flawless bomb jump there.
Yeah, what a sweet setup Jim had there to save quite a few seconds getting out of that cave. Since Jim picked up the hammer, Jim could opt to check Spike Cave after this series of checks here. Piece of love falls out of the sky.
And into Hera, Gem goes.
And PKR just did something I don't know if I've ever seen in a rando, and used the hookshot to cross from East Death Mountain back to west side of Death Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess coming out of Spiral Cave there, if you hustle, it's probably a little bit quicker than doing the save quit.
Yeah, I can buy that. Jim checked the first floor of Hera. He must not have gotten the big key. It must be in, like, the basement, and has decided to leave that.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, looks like PKR has got the same setup here for a bomb jump.
Yep, and also pulls it off flawlessly. Nicely done.
Okay, so we've got Gem looking like, maybe a Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb here.
Yep. Certainly a possibility. This would be, this is one of those trolls getting to King's Tomb. It's another one of those gotchas, like the hookshot that Gem just pulled off, using the mirror to get through here without the Titan's mitts.
Okay, so just a piece of heart hanging out in the King's Tomb.
So I guess it was the big key on the first floor, but both of our runners have decided not to take that big key any further, not going upstairs in Hera.
Yeah, I mean, having just picked up the hammer, that kind of opens up a little bit more of the world. So no need to maybe dip into another pendant looking for anything.
Gem is going to give us a powder check, and then we're in the right part of the world, but back into Thieves' Town is probably the next play.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it would be that or Swamp Palace at this point. Or I suppose clearing off Palace of Darkness.
So nothing good from the Batman, just a piece of heart. Gem with the quick use of the Hyrule public transit system to get across town there.
So PKR is going to dive back into Swamp Palace, whereas it looks like Gem is going to be going for the Thieves play.
Yep. This is the closest Gem will be to the pedestal for a little while, but not giving us a pedestal check. With a pendant in Turtle Rock, it's very unlikely that pedestal has something important.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the Bombos medallion, if that is the medallion required for Misery Mire.
Yeah, or if the real troll would be Bombos to get into Ice Palace because the Fire Rod is in Ice Palace.
Oh, that's way worse.
So, our runners are both showing us the two options we've discussed. Gem back into Thieves Town and PKR into Swamp.
I'm feeling like one of these dungeons will have progression, so I'm looking forward to seeing which one is going to pay off. Be interesting to see if PKR goes left side right off the bat or decides to go towards the back of the dungeon first.
It looks like back of the dungeon is going to be the call.
Yeah. Alright, so Gem hasn't come across anything too exciting yet in his dungeon of choice.
And nor has PKR. Though PKR has only shown us one check beyond the chest that she dipped for.
There we go.
Yeah. Look at the Titan's mitts coming out of the back of Swamp Palace. And that certainly opens up a lot for us. Oh, and the Cane of Samaria?
Well, how about that?
Ooh, and the Tempered Sword on Gem's side. That's nothing to sneeze at coming out of Thieves Town. So, both of our dungeons with some nice stuff.
Yeah, I guess the good thing here for Gem is he hasn't found anything else that could lead him to another dungeon. He still only has Swamp at this point, so he'll be not too far behind in picking up the mitts and the cane there.
Yeah, PKR using some nice spin strats there, fucking off two of those little Argai and spin attacking them. And Gem got that Tempered Sword in the one dungeon. It doesn't make a difference on the boss. Blind takes the same Blind takes the same damage from everything that hurts him.
Whoa, that sync boss kill right here. Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. Crystal Sync. So PKR got the big key from Argus, and so may opt to head back in to check some chests. Nope.
Alrighty, so I mean it's a gamble. I think it's got to be 2 items. I think we saw 1 dungeon item.
Yeah, so leaving 2 items in Swamp is a big gamble, but we are going to check the mire area right away with the mitts. So we get 2 items here in the shed. That's a pile of bombs and a 10 arrow pack. PKR does have the ability to check the checkerboard cave, can mirror over and look at desert, but I don't think we've seen the medallion. Oh, it must be one that she has. Yeah, it's ether.
I mean, you just picked up Titan's Mitts and the Cane of Samaria. Why not take a dive into the mire?
Absolutely.
I mean, really, I guess the only other option would be to run all the way back up Death Mountain and do Dark Death Mountain. But that's a bit of a time sink for any runner, so...
Yeah, and Dark Death Mountain much less appealing with Pendant Turtle Rock sitting there. You don't want to go into that dungeon at all if you can avoid it. And we don't even have the Fire Rod, so Turtle Rock, yet another reason why Turtle Rock is not at all an appealing option.
Yeah, so as some in chat are pointing out, I believe that is the end of the pedestal dream. It is dead today.
Well, unless it's Bombos for Ice Palace.
Oh yeah, right. I guess that could be the one thing.
Figure you might as well throw Chad a little bit of throw Chad a little bone to keep him biting at that pet dream. Oh, there we go. Chad is right. We need Fire Rod to get into Turtle Rock. Yeah, everybody in chat is piling on me. Yes. We need the Fire Rod to get into Turtle Rock, so we have to get the Fire Rod before we can get to the pedestal. So we don't need... There we go.
Yep.
Thank you, chat.
What will we do without you?
Chat is evil. They like to hope for pedestal, but they're a very smart kind of evil. They know exactly which sorts of evil are permitted and which sorts of evil are not permitted.
So Jem has also skipped left side so far. I know that's pretty standard for him, I think. Whether or not he decides to go back in for the 2 items that PKR left behind remains to be seen. Silver arrows on Vitreous here makes this fight easy peasy. And Vitreous goes down.
I really like how Vitreous is weak to silver arrows, even though in the vanilla game you're never intended to have the silver arrows for this boss.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess because they just do so much damage that everyone's weak to them pretty much.
Yeah. If only Mothula could be weak to the silver arrows. I just wish there were more ways to kill Mothula. Mothula's awful.
So I noticed that PKR went through Misery Mire fairly quickly there. I'm pretty sure that she left the items hanging around in that dungeon as well. So taking some gambles here. I mean, I think, knowing who your opponent is, you've got to gamble a little harder than usual. I mean, Jem is an executor. He takes care of business. So Pink Kitty, knowing this, is taking a couple of gambles to try and kind of get a bit of an edge. Alrighty, so Jem also left the one item behind. It is one item. We didn't see either the map or the compass. I thought it might have shown up there, but on Jem's run through there, we saw that we did not pick up either. So makes a little more sense to leave that one item there.
Yeah, leaving one item behind is a much more common play than leaving two in Swamp.
So with the care package that we did pick up in Swamp, Jem is also heading over to the Mire area. And Ether Medallion's already out, so he is heading in.
Yep.
So PKR is taking care of Thieves Town here. Going to be rewarded with a Tempered Sword down in the big chest there. Not too much else hanging around, but it will be another crystal, you know, so that always is a good thing to be knocking off.
Absolutely. Tempered Sword is one of those items you just love to find. It makes you feel so much nicer knowing you're not taking the Master Sword into Ganon's fight.
Mm-hmm.
So both of our runners will have, at a minimum, Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows for Ganon. Still haven't seen any mail upgrades, but these runners have quite a bit of health. Not too worried about their survivability, I'm sure.
Yeah. So while PKR kind of blitzed through Misery Mire here, I get the feeling that Jem might actually look for the items that are hanging around here. If there's nothing here, Desert Palace is a dungeon that we have not checked yet.
Yep, it's a dungeon we haven't checked, it's a dungeon that we can complete, and it's a dungeon that has an extra item than it normally does because we have the green pendant. Oh, Jem giving us a little bit of a tease, but does not pull off that God Hover to the end of Misery Mire.
So it looks like PKR is going to wrap up the dungeons that we have available to us. Other than Pod, I think both of our runners are kind of left Pod for now because they only have Helmasaur King to take care of. I want to see where she goes next. It probably is going to be up to Dark Death Mountain.
Yep, makes sense. If you were going to be making that desert play, you could grab that green pendant and turn it in on the way to Pod. That's something, if that green pendant is calling out to you, that would be a good way to combo it in.
Mm-hmm.
Jem, you got to shoot the arrow the other way.
There you go. Yeah, with the Titan's Mitt there, PKR is going to be taking care of the Blacksmith's sequence here first.
Yep, and she has not turned in the powder eye yet, so she'll be able to do that. She'll get the hammer pegs. Jem needs to work on his archery, I think.
Yeah, he's been missing a couple shots today. All right, so the blacksmiths are actually tailors today.
Yep, nice new set of clothes for PinkKittyRose. I didn't intend for that to rhyme, I'm sorry.
So Jem is heading back in. We're still looking for, I believe, both items here in Misery Mire. So interesting to see what we find.
Well, there's Bombos. So that's Ice Palace access.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's gonna shake up what Gem decides to do. PKR might be deciding to do the Dark Death Mountain still, but Gem's got some options now.
Yeah, Ice Palace is, on the one hand, a dungeon with 3 items and a crystal, and on the other hand, a dungeon you'd really like to go mode. Well, that's it on Misery Mire. It was the Bombos Medallion and then a piece of heart. So, Gem has some deciding to do.
Desert Palace first here from Gem.
Yep.
Meanwhile, PKR is going to finish off Helmasaur. Makes sense, you know. You're no better. There's no really good time to take care of this, so might as well just do it now.
Yep. Plus, doing something like this, it just gives you some time to think. You know, head into the dungeon, kill the boss. You've done it dozens, perhaps hundreds of times, so you can sort of go a little bit into autopilot while you're walking through the dungeon. Just spend some time thinking about what your next move should be.
Alright, so we've got all the keys in Desert Palace, and now we're looking for the items. Well, we just got the right side left here. 2 items are available here in Desert Palace. So there's 2 chests in this part of the dungeon that Gem can check. Otherwise, there might be an item left on Landmolus.
Yep, there's guaranteed to be 1 item locked behind Landmole, because, well, now it's guaranteed to be 2 items. Killing Landmole will get you an item from the boss and the green pendant.
Yes, the extra item being the green pendant, yes, yes.
And Gem is not going to do that.
Yeah, the Landmolus fight isn't a particularly long one. With silver arrows, it would probably be no problem at all for Gem, but it is still a time sink, so not wanting to take that risk. Yeah, so with that Bombos Medallion in hand, Ice Palace is calling out to Gem here. PKR making quick work of Helmasaur King here.
Just the map on Helmasaur, so PKR would have known that. PKR would have counted her items, so she knew she wasn't getting an item out of here.
Has the mirror out, likely into the light world, and then probably up to Death Mountain.
Yep. Gem gets the first item in Ice Palace. It is the half magic upgrade.
That's a nice find.
Yep, especially in a dungeon that relies so heavily on your use of magic power. Maybe it portends another magic item deeper in the dungeon.
Maybe. This is another kind of interesting point in the race here. We haven't seen what Dark Death Mountain holds yet, so between what Gem's pulling off here in Ice Palace and what PKR is going to be showing us up at Dark Death, it kind of might determine how the rest of this race plays out.
Absolutely. Gem's movement and execution in Ice have just been beautiful so far. Really nice dash buffers to line up that bomb jump. He laid his first bomb, didn't like where it ended up, and threw it in the pit and set it up again. Checking Turtle Rock for the Fire Rod is not a terrible check because it's possible to be locked out real quick without the Fire Rod, but it's also possible that the keys are laid out just perfectly enough to let you get really deep and then leave you with nothing.
Luckily for PKR, Turtle Rock is Bombos Medallion, so is not going to be even tempted at all to head in there. Yikes, that's too bad. Unfortunately, there was nothing up on Dark Death that's going to help PKR out.
Yeah, so she's going to have to decide where to dip back in. This part of the world probably heading to Catfish. But PKR has left some... No, I lied. PKR has left some orphaned locations. They've both left Hera. PKR left 2 items in Mire, one of them being the Bombos Medallion. And while we were chatting, Gem got the second item from Ice, which was not important. I don't remember what it was. So it's either... Yeah?
I think it was a 10-bomb capacity upgrade.
Yes. Not... So I was going to say, it's either not important or my memory is garbage. Which they could both, they could both be true. They're not mutually exclusive. And that was the third item there in Ice. It was a full heart container. So Ice Palace does not have the Fire Rod. Ice Palace is the other Pyramid Fairy crystal, though.
Okay, so yeah, that'll open up.
It looks like for a little while now, PKR is going to be making some checks that Gem has already made. Here will be the King's Tomb, then the Graveyard Ledge after that.
Yeah, having made the commitment to step out of dungeons, leaving chests behind, you don't want to go back into those dungeons until you've kind of exhausted all your other options.
Yeah. Gorgeous Cold Stare fight from Gem. Beautiful.
Yeah, and readying the mirror, likely to probably flute over to 4 and then take care of the Pyramid Fairy, seeing as that is now in logic.
Yep, and with Aghanim dead, we've got the nice quick route up to the pyramid through the castle gate portal.
Alrighty, so PKR is going to be heading over to Catfish here. Gem doing a fantastic job getting that bomb glitch to work out there. Screen transitioning just at the right time there as the timer expired. The bomb kind of warps right back up to you.
Yep, that is something that I have messed up every single time I've tried it. I have wasted a lot of bombs.
Right?
So, Gem going to be grabbing 2 items here.
Not really anything that we were looking for.
All right. So PKR is here in Desert. At this point, with so few things left for PKR to check, she will probably finish this through to Landmo.
Yeah, I would imagine.
While Gem is going to invest that time into Dark Death Mountain. Gem has the option of dipping into Turtle Rock.
Yeah. And given what we know, there are not a lot of locations left, so it wouldn't be the worst play necessarily.
No.
I mean, if PKR does decide to go through with Desert Palace here, we've got the 1 item on Land Mollis itself, and then the green pendant. If one of those is a fire rod, puts her right back on track here.
Yep. Absolutely. So after Hookshot Cave, we'll see if Gem dips Turtle Rock. Gem also has the option of going back into Tower of Hera. He's in the right part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned early on, Sabo, that you were not looking forward to an Ice Rod Troll. So instead, the seed provided us with a Fire Rod Troll.
Which is, yeah, not as common. Alrighty, so it looks like Gem might be taking a peek in Turtle Rock here. As much as you don't want to check a pendant Turtle Rock, you're up here already. You don't want to have to come back up here at some point, so just bite the bullet and take a look in.
Yep. And we have a decent chance of finding something that's not a small key and being locked out anyway. So Land Mollis itself only gave us a bomb upgrade, but that green pendant, we can cash that in for something else.
Alright, so she's turning that in right away. Not much else for PKR to check before dipping back into a dungeon, so this makes sense to take care of this small key in Turtle Rock, so Gem can go further into the dungeon.
Yep, so the Fire Rod can be in here, or a big waste of time can be in here. Ooh, it is not on Sahasrara. It is a red item, but not the red item we want. So with that knowledge, being up here on Death Mountain, you have to think Gem probably in a bit of a lead here.
Yeah, it's looking like that for now, but
PKR might be heading into Hera, and if that's where it is, then you know this is anybody's race for anybody's race looking for this Fire Rod.
yeah, I see a couple people in chat pointing out that we did abandon 1 item in Swamp Palace as well. It could be there. Both runners left it behind.
Butter Sword from the Vanilla Big Key location in Turtle Rock.
So Gem's going to be able to give us a look at Mimic Cave next, and then if the big chest has a small key in it, we'll be able to get a little bit further in the dungeon here.
Have we seen the big key at all?
I believe we... Oh, I guess we have the fire. We haven't seen that right side of the dungeon, so we might not have the big key.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be Mimic Cave.
Mm-hmm.
Nice quick Moldorm kill on PKR's side. There it is!
Ooh!
That is huge, and it is go mode.
So PKR is going to have to hustle to get through Ice Palace there, and Gem is going to have to head up to Tower of Hera to get that fire rod.
Yep. So PKR will do go mode Ice Palace. They'll head back of Skull Woods and kill the moth. This is looking very good for PKR here.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Skull Woods is a pretty quick clear, and so if Gem picks up the fire rod pretty quickly, then that's not going to be too bad. But he also has Palace of Darkness still to finish off, which isn't huge either, but is still more time.
Yeah, and every second Gem spends doing these overworld checks is just gonna dig him further into that hole.
So yeah, we'll likely see Gem take this all the way down to Bombo's tablet with this blacksmith chain. So this is going to add, another 2 minutes of time to his run. Really nice setup with the bomb jump there.
Uh-oh. Gem is heading back to Desert.
Yep, I mean, he's really averse to heading into Tower of Hera, it seems here. So, I mean, you've got an item on Land Molus, and you've got the green pendant, so that's Hasrala as well. So,
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, it's a reasonable play.
I mean, blink and you missed it. PKR is already down in the Cold Stare fight here. The Puff's getting away just a little bit, but all in all, not a bad fight.
Yep. Any Cold Stare fight in which it dies and you don't is a good fight.
Yeah.
It is, of course, possible for both of you to die. It is possible to kill Cold Stare and then take a chunk of ice on the noggin and die after it is dead.
Yeah, but that is the absolute worst. You'd have to be very unlucky to have that happen to you. Alrighty, so PKR is going to roast Mothula as quickly as she can. Gem is likely going to turn in that pendant, be very disappointed to find just the big 20. Oh, he's going to take care of Pod as well here.
Yep, might as well.
All right, so PKR's got 2 keys already. We'll be able to get through both the doors that require them, so nothing's going to slow her down in this back part. And a fire rod dash through the door for good measure there. So with a tempered sword, pretty easy fight here with Mothula.
Yep, Mothula goes down. That's PKR's 7th crystal, is it not?
I believe it is. So it's probably time for us to start talking about a little game we like to play.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
let's see. Up in Ganon's Tower, there are 22 chests where the big key can be, and we're looking to find which chest it might be in. So in chat there, put your guesses in, 1 through 22. Where is Ganon's Tower big key going to be? And if you are a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming channels or have donated 250 bits across any of the channels, then you'll be entered in for a chance to get onto our leaderboard.
Do you have a preferred number or location, Sabo?
I tend to stick with Rando Room. So if PKR goes kind of the usual first 2 on the right and then over to the left, somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, I'm going to guess chest 10 today. What do you think, Firewood King?
I guessed 18 today. I tend to guess higher double-digit numbers.
Ooh.
I like seeing more Ganon's Tower. PKR is definitely far enough ahead that Ganon's Tower gambles aren't going to be what decides this one.
Yeah.
So we will finish up this game when PKR enters Ganon's Tower, and we'll use her chest order to figure out who the winner is. So get those guesses in quick now. You only have a little bit more time.
Alrighty. And we're in. Going left side first here. How that mail wasn't on fire, I will never know. Must be heat resistant.
Like the one from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, there we go.
PKR showing us her strats. I think they are sometimes are called the Pink Magician strats or the Dark Magician Girl strats.
Nice.
Heading left first, and then over here to the right.
So we're up to chest 7 so far, yes?
Yes, we have checked a total of 7 thus far. This next one will be 8.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gem still not heading up to Tower of Hera, but at this point, there is not much left on the table.
Yeah, well, Jem knows that if it's Hera, then he's done, and he's been done for a while. So he is counting on it not being Hera, which is not the right thing to be counting on.
So 8, 9, 10, and 11, and still no big key.
Yep, PKR going the full right side. We'll be taking this route all the way to Bob's chest and Ice Armos. We will get to Bob's chest. Bob won't be there. Not in Bob's chest.
Really nice dismantling of the Armos Knights there.
And there it is. I believe that is chest 14.
Yes, it is.
So the first supporter with a guess of 14 was Bacon 1207. Congratulations. Jem gets the fire rod, and I'm sure at this point he realizes, in all likelihood, he is toast.
Yeah.
Though on the other hand, you have to think to yourself, my opponent hasn't finished yet, so maybe she did the same thing? But she went back to Hera much sooner.
I mean, I think what's really interesting about how this race played out was we were kind of worried about PKR skipping out on the Meyer chests. And it turns out that the Bombos medallion was a red herring that threw Gem completely off track there in a way.
Absolutely. That made him go through 2 dungeons. It made him do ice with a full clear, and it made him dip into Turtle Rock for nothing at all. I guess Buttersword, but Buttersword is a small consolation after losing the first of your best-of-3 match.
PKR making quick work of the gauntlet here. Very nice.
And a beautiful Landmo 2. 3 silver arrows.
The always satisfying Wizrobe rooms here.
Yep, one of those nifty strats that looks really cool and is not too difficult to pull off.
Alrighty, so Jem picks up his 7th crystal and is going to be heading up to Ganon's tower as well.
PKR down to the tail end of her magic stretches that lamp over the gap to light the last torch.
So PKR not opening any of the chests up in this top section of Ganon's tower. There's really no need to. I mean, sword upgrade might be the only thing that you could find that'd be worthwhile, but with tempered and silver arrows in hand, it's nothing.
PinkKittyRose with a nice dash straight up the center of that awful room. Only gets one there. Gets pegged by one of those walls.
Pretty nice patterns here.
Yep. Yeah, nicely done. PKR passing the final exam in geometry. She'll be heading out of the tower just as Jem heads into the tower.
Alrighty, it's time to take on the pig here.
I think that should be enough to do the 1+1 cycle. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you definitely want to get through phase 2 as quickly as possible. It is the one where you can take the most damage. It seems it's the most annoying phase for sure.
Yep, even with red mail, those fire bats do quite a bit of damage. And of course, one cannot forget the hugs. Would you just stop, please, Ganon?
And there is nothing more stressful than being in a race and Ganon will not stop teleporting. You think, oh my god, this is how I'm going to lose. I'm waiting here and I should be finishing, but I'm not.
Yeah, even if you know that your opponent will get the same pattern, it still feels like it takes forever.
Yeah, it's the worst feeling.
Oh, excellent use of the fire rod there to set up a double here. Ooh, more than a double. Gets a triple to finish off the pig.
So push your GG's in the chat for PinkKittyRose taking game 1 here, this quarterfinal.
Yes, indeed. PinkKittyRose has finished with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 19 seconds.
So we'll see if we can pull her in for an interview in just a second. And it looks like she's in our lobby here, so let's bring her on in. And we're joined by our winner, PinkKittyRose. GG's, congrats.
That was stressful.
Right?
Oh, man. So, I guess that Meyer skiff worked out really well after talking to Jim about what I missed in there.
Yeah, we were definitely talking about that. You gambled hard on that one, so it really paid off. We were actually talking about as you were running up the tower there, that it threw Gem completely off course. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I was. I was nervous about it the entire time, but I'm just like, Jem's not going to skip those 2 chests. That is not his playstyle. If it's in there, I've already lost, so just keep looking everywhere else. And I looked out, and it was in Hera, which was pretty much my last location to check other than Meyer, so the like tension was layering on thick by then. And I still felt behind even after getting that, because like it was nearly my last location to get up to Hera, and it was available pretty early, so that's why I went kind of crazy with the GT routing, which worked out this time, thankfully.
Yeah, well, I mean, when your opponent is Gem, you know you're going up against someone who's really great. So it's always nervous when you get around that 1 hour 30-minute mark. You think, oh my god, like he's got to be hitting that dot done anytime now.
Yeah, I was kind of like the eyes were going to my other monitor all throughout GT, and it's just like, oh god, so you're saying there's a chance. Oh. Why did it have to come down to a dumb search for one last item? Those are the worst!
Yeah, we were before the race. We were discussing how we didn't want to see an ice rod troll. So of course the game gave you guys the ice rod right away, and then led you around for the fire rod.
I saw that ice rod, and I'm just like, well, 2 pendants are already in the light world, so this means we're actually not going to have to run around looking for this for Crystal Tornado. Oh, it's pendant to a rock. Well, okay, fine, game, I guess. This scene was rude on so many levels.
No kidding. So we've also got Gem hanging out. Unfortunately, decided to forfeit, which is totally understandable. So let's bring him in and hear how he thought this seed went. Hey there, Gem. GG's, man. Tough run.
Oh, thanks. It happens. GG PKR.
GG Jam. Oh, what a dumb first seed.
Yeah.
So I guess like the big difference between your run, you guys, which we were all talking to PKR about, that Bombos medallion it threw you off course, unfortunately.
Yeah, quite a bit, I guess. Let me do IP, let me do Pet Fairy, and then let me do Turtle Rock, which led me through all the way to Mimic. Kind of a nice timeless right there.
Yeah, from what we were seeing, it was that picking up Bombos medallion put you ahead for a while there, and we thought, oh wow, PinkKittyRose is going to be in some trouble here if you come across a fire rod in any of the locations that you opened up with the Bombos. But then putting off Hera, both of you guys put off Hera pretty late, so it was definitely one of the last places that she could have checked as well.
Yeah, I only had the 2 items I left in Meyer and left side swamp left by the time I got up to Hera.
Oh well.
Really, what else can you say? Yeah, that's how the randomizer is, really.
Yeah, that's just how it goes.
So yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's not over yet, though. You guys have got game 2, so that's going tomorrow. Any kind of change to strategies from either one of you at this point, or I mean, what did you learn from this seed that you might want to try something different in the next?
Well, if I'm missing Fire Rod, I might go to Pendant Terra a bit earlier. Against TGH, the exact same thing happened. I was missing Fire Rod and I wasn't Pendant Terra, and I lost.
Oh my god, it's got it out for you, man. That is not fair.
I went for the first chest of swamp check because of my matches with Zelda. Oh, I didn't want to get the hammer there again.
It's funny how those things kind of play on your mind in future races. Is that one spot that kind of screwed you over in the last race?
Such is Rando. On the best of days.
Such as random.
So, I don't know. I guess that might about do it. Firewood King, have you got anything for our two wonderful runners?
No, I think you've covered all the questions I was going to ask. I want to give a shout out to our tracker today, Demons Druid, keeping us informed as to where all of this stuff has been. So we wouldn't be able to do our jobs as commentators without tracking. So thanks to Demons Druid for that.
Oh, Jem, props for using the shovel on Aghanim there. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I was digging him a grave. Or at least I tried to, but that was too hard.
You'll get through those tiles eventually. I just don't
Yeah.
think I'll get deeper. Ah.
Yeah. So if you've liked what you've seen today, and let's be honest, how could you have not liked what you saw today? You can throw both of our runners a follow. I think they've earned it. And come back tomorrow at 3:30 for their next match.
Yeah, definitely. That's gonna do it for this broadcast, I think. So yeah, big shout outs to our runners. Fantastic job. Best of luck in game 2 tomorrow. And our tracker, Demons Druid, excellent work, my man. And I had a great time co-commentating with you, Firewood King.
Absolutely, Sabo. It's been a blast. If you want more rando, as we mentioned earlier, Gloin and Andy tonight at 10 p.m. So,
yeah, that's gonna be hype.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, Sabo.
Yeah, man. So I guess that's going to do it for us here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.
Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.